Hey y'all, it's time to tackle our training for not only December STAAR for 2024, but also our 24-25 security and confidentialities training. At the conclusion of this, you will submit your oath, completed, initialed, signed, dated to my office, as well as complete and submit your training verification and confirmation form so that you're ready for December. We need to take care of all these things before we leave for Thanksgiving. So first and foremost, let's get this training underway. If we can get everything taken care of by Friday, December, oh, we are jumping a whole month ahead. Sorry, by Friday, November 15th, that would be awesome. I will have assignments to you by the end of day, November 18th. We're still waiting on some LPAC meetings and different accommodation decisions to be made and put in place. All right, so in our training folder, or in the December folder, you'll see our training slideshow, which we're going to center all of our stuff around today. I also want you to see that the manual for 24-25 already is there. This has every bit of the details, law, all the things that you need to know and before signing your oath and have an understanding of before signing your oath. So make sure you are doing all of those things and that you've read it and you understand what is there. And then we'll look at the checklist in just a little bit because frankly, the checklist is what keeps us in compliance. It's what helps prevent us from having irregularities and keeps us staying on the same page. So let's go ahead and get started with our training. It's catching up to us. This is for December 2024 and also your security and confidentiality training. Keep in mind that, hang on everybody, sorry. Thanks for your patience. All right. Keep in mind that we're using some samples and things of that nature for the purposes of training, and whatever you're given on test day is not substituted by the contents of training. Training is for training purposes. It will align as closely as possible, if not be the exact same things. But whatever is the most current thing before you is what we abide by. Remember, training never takes the place of reading your manual. Here's some new things for 24-25. All students taking STAAR Level 1 must be provided blank scratch paper. We are going to provide them some graph, but we have to provide blank scratch paper. By the way, it is a procedural error if you're not providing scratch paper. It's not just a suggestion. It's in our checklist. It's part of something that we need to do to be in compliance, but also students aren't likely going to ask for it, but they will use it if it's provided for them. And yes, some of them will be returned blank, but for the most part, we're trying to create opportunities for our kids, not relying on them and the angst that they feel. They don't want to be embarrassed, all the different reasons that could make a student think that they're not going to ask for it. Also, we have to have a consolidation plan in place, and it has to be formally created and shared with our district testing coordinator. We've already done that. Reporting dates, this is linked right here, and I just want y'all to have access to this as well. We have this giant calendar that they print out for us every year, but this is awesome because it will give you the days that we're expected to have reports available to us by the state. And it's way more user friendly. And so they created that this year, and it's awesome. And then Todd, this has to do with things that I look at. It's our interface that we use for score reporting and information for students. All right, here's some breakdowns for your manual. Remember, it's a guide to the test administration directions. It's a must read. You need to go over this, but this will help highlight in chunks what we are really looking at and focusing on. All right, let's get into test security and confidentiality. let me just pause right here. Remember, when I share a test security and confidentiality training with the staff, you will not have to do it. Your December training and participation in being a December test administrator, it will supersede that, and you will have already taken care of this requirement. So we may not be going as much in detail because the majority of you are veteran teachers. If you are new to our building, new to teaching, please get some clarifications. Come ask questions, ask your mentor. We're here to help. All right, test security involves accounting for all secure materials before, during, and after each test administration, and it includes being trained, signing your oath. And if we have paper materials like with STAAR, they're inventoried in the thing we call test town so that we can show where anything is at any given time. When you sign a materials control form, typically it's with Ms. Carruthers. We did this for PSAT. It helps us account for who has what in each room, and it is a document that it documents the transfer materials through each stage of the administration, whether we are signing them out, signing them back in. When we bring your absent tickets and we make note of it on this same sheet, it tracks the chain of custody. It is also about creating a secure, positive environment for testing. When we turn off our cell phones, when we make sure that we have room checks. And I just need to pause right here. There will always be people that have a conflict with when we're going to do room checks. What I ask is in advance that you be the professional that communicates and tells me, hey, mine won't be ready at this time, but this is my oath, and you copy your administrator on it, that I will have it ready for testing by the end of the day. And that's what we're going to go. We're going to have to create a professional environment where we know that we'll each take care of things and take care of that. Here's some examples of some content specific materials that need to be covered or removed in rooms. There are two types of irregularities. They can occur before, during, or after testing. There's serious irregularities and there's procedural irregularities. Serious irregularities, they're about severe violations of test security and confidentiality. Basically, to me, this really centers around, in a lot of ways, the adults are giving unfair advantage in some way or another, and they're cheating. They're looking at things they're not supposed to. They're making a record of something they're not supposed to. It's a huge violation. It has to be reported to TEA as soon as the district coordinators are aware of it. And my job is to let the district coordinator be aware of it. It can result in your certification being removed, disciplinary action, and there can be legal ramifications. Here are some things that we need to remember: that they violate security and confidentiality and considered serious. Obviously, if you're directly or indirectly assisting students, you know, voice inflection, standing at different places in the room. I can tell you endless ways that this could be done, but our job is to actively monitor, keep things secure in the room. We're not supposed to be honing in on the content of a test. You may be checking to make sure that a student has submitted their answers, but you're not reading all their answers. You're not recording anything. You're not scoring a test formally or informally, discussing or disclosing secure content. These are all violations. There's some more conduct that is considered serious testing violations, that are considered serious testing violations. Failing to report to the appropriate authority, you're not implementing the procedures that prevent student cheating. You're responding to test questions. I know I'm popping around here. I know y'all can read, but these things are important. You need to really, really look at these. This is why I go to no-ends investigating kids, is because as far as it depends on me, I want to make sure that I'm not preventing a student from participating in an administration of the test. You've just got to be aware of what these things are. Now, procedural errors, they're less severe, they're way more common, typically result in a monitor deviation. Routine trainings are the best way to avoid these. Not giving out scratch paper, a monitoring error, something that directly, we're not making sure accommodations are given. Here's some more examples of those. Monitoring error. You leave the room unmonitored while students are testing. It can result in a student's test not being scored. That's a big deal. Not monitoring during a break from testing. We don't take formal breaks in high school, but that is another way that it's a procedural monitoring error. But remember, these follow under procedural. Did not properly complete the required seating chart. You did not use the test administrator manual and read the say directions. You didn't provide ancillary materials. This right here is mostly for grades outside of high school. All of the things that we need are embedded in our test, but we do provide dictionaries, a few, so that they're accessible for the rooms. Most of the time for us in December, they're going to be kept just a few in the bucket. If you need them, you can always ask for more. But these are procedural errors, and they can result in a student's test not being scored. A monitoring error, you're not doing your job to ensure that the students are working independently. You didn't keep students from using cell phones or other electronic devices. Now, bottom line, kids are sneaky. They have multiple cell phones and electronic devices, smartwatches. There's even things that are sometimes embedded in glasses. I'm saying we just need to do our due diligence. And when we tell you to go ahead and take up electronic devices, have students put all their belongings at the front of the room, and that's on your checklist from go. All these things are in our checklist, are ways to prevent errors, ways to prevent irregularities, and also give each student the same environment so that they all have the same level playing field when they are tested. Here's some examples of accommodation errors, like it wasn't provided, or we provided one that they weren't approved to have. Training errors. Personnel were permitted to administer tests, monitor test sessions, relieve a test administrator, even though they hadn't been properly trained or signed an oath. I need y'all to notice this paragraph right here. This is a training error that we make sure doesn't happen. Every single staff member is trained and has to sign an oath. And so when we send that out to the whole staff, even Officer Bobby, Officer Anderson, they have to fill those out. Nurse Dawn, all of our paras, because even in S-Hall, they help with this transporting of material for ALT. We can use anyone to sign their oath. And if you are not certified, make sure that you initial that one certain box for non-certified personnel. Eligibility errors, kids administered incorrect tests or not given the right test, failing to account for eligible testers. Just these are all errors. Accounting errors. We issue somebody the wrong book, or we can't find the ticket. This is why we have to account for all of those things in the material control form. We have to count the tickets when they go and when they come back in. All right. Students will not have access to electronic devices before they're dismissed from the test site or all testing is concluded. It's a serious violation. And this also, I need you to hear me, even as the professional, it's a violation if you try to take a screenshot to tell me what's going on a student. No, 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 don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Kids' scores get invalidated because they do ridiculous things. we can be in jeopardy of different things because we're not thinking things through. Do not use electronic devices. Remember, we have a cell phone electronic policy. It is on the inside of every testing folder. We make sure to read our underlined statement. We discuss these things, make sure that we communicate the policy, that you are actively monitoring, and that you adhere to our campus procedures. Most of that involves calling me at 27815 and filling out your incident report. Here are the violations, the law that it's actually cited in. And here's some things to consider when it's incidents involving cheating. We're all required to actively monitor and ensure that we follow the test procedures, but sometimes things happen. Students, as they log into their test, they sign an honor statement. It's not required, but students are expected to follow those even if they don't sign it. And we are required to have procedures in place to prevent the use of cell phones. That's why we have our cell phone policy. That's why we read that out loud. That's why we take up electronic devices and don't give them back until they're finished with the test. It is also, we just do best practices here. And failing to follow these things, it can also be a gateway to student cheating. When a student is found to have cheated and then there's an investigation and there is evidentiary proof that that is what occurred, then we O-code them and they will have to retest it another time. These are some guidelines, and this basically is for me and administrators as we are going through this process, but I just wanted you to be aware of the guidelines that we have in place and the instructions we've been given. Because no matter what, even if you're filling out your incident report, just stay calm, stick to the facts. These are all things covered in our incident report. There used to be, and I mean prior to this school year, even in the summer, there was a clause on our incident report that said, how will this be prevented in the future? And so we reworded that to say, if possible, are there things that we can do that would prevent this in the future? Because sometimes you've done everything we can and something still happens. All right. Test administrator training on test security and administration procedures is required at least once. Annual test administration training is strongly encouraged, especially for policies and procedures that have changed. The campus coordinator, me, is scheduling these sessions like this one and the one for our staff. And then we continue to reiterate things throughout the school year at our procedural trainings. I have to keep their oaths signed, and I have to keep the verification form documents on file, all of these things for 5 years. All right, this is just reminding you, we talked about before, we're dictionary policy, it is embedded, but we will provide make some copies available during English 1 and English 2 assessments. It is not allowable for any other tests, period. All right, these are designated supports, the different kinds of things that are available to kids and what tests they're available for. This is just a thing to just keep in mind. I thought this was a great chart that was shared with us. Every entity that supports our kids is not allowed to prescribe all accommodations. Some are available accommodations by academic committee. This is how it's broken down best. So if you have questions about that, now you know. For instance, LPAC, they can do content and language supports, and they can have text to speech, but they can't have supplemental aids. Okay, that's just an example. All right. STAAR time limit, while we are not timed, there's a max of 7 hours, period. And then we have to have a consolidation plan. As I said, what that means is, if we have students after 4 hours, we should have consolidated down to the rooms that we can. That could be more 5 hours with English 1 and English 2. Take into account that that goes from the time we actually start, taking out the lunchtime. That's why for English, a lot of times we don't move, because by the time we get materials back, there's no place to go. We can't consolidate down. There's still too many kids testing, but we have to create a new seating chart when we move to a consolidated room, or if your room is the consolidated room, there'll be a new seating chart for that room, and we will have a procedure in place to account for every student that is in that room at that time and the time that they continue testing. All right. That's about all we're going to cover on security confidentiality part of our training. Let's move on to specific things about December. So here's what our breakdown basically looks like. We could have biology in US, this should also have US here, on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. English 1 will be given on Tuesday. Algebra will be given on Wednesday. English 2 will be given on Thursday. And then there's a chance I can always squeeze in a makeup, but majority of our makeups will begin on Friday if they aren't already rostered for a test on that day that they haven't taken that week. I will check rooms on Monday, December 2nd. And then makeups will continue the following week. If I need Marianne Halpin, she'll assist, or if I need Estella, she most likely will always assist, because we have to have somebody that's in with the children at all time, and sometimes goes up to the bathroom and whatever, as those cases may be. Notice right here it says rooms TBD by 11/17. Then I'll be sharing with you no later than 11/18. If I have them before then, I will get them to you. Like I said at the beginning of the training, we have some accommodations still working to be put in place and made official before I can relocate our L-hole rooms that will be used, as well as communicate those specific rooms with you and our kids. I will give you your duties no later than 11:59 on Monday, November 18th. I will share them through email, but they will also be dropped in our folder. Remember, when you are giving a test, you need to pick up materials between 7:45 and 8:05. Once you leave this office, you go straight to your assigned place, work through your checklist, and get things going. Our hope and goal is to have 2 staff members in the room for the first 2 hours. Now, the first 2 hours that you are going, y'all, after that, make sure the room is covered. I'm going to tell you, you're welcome to keep the 2 in there, but if you decide to rotate, you need to establish a rotation that is fair. And you also need to be able to get to that person should you need further assistance. The possible duties could be a testing administrator, restroom monitor, testing office assist, which I will say Tara is my backup. Katie is my backup to the backup. They are probably the people that might be floating. Tara will be in here in the testing office with me. Katie could possibly be in here as well as needed. All right, every item in the bin has a purpose, and there's a procedure that we're trying to follow. Most often we're just trying, like we said, to maintain security and confidentiality, as well as being in compliance with state guidelines. Here are the things you're going to find in your bucket. Remember, on electronic devices, yours has to be silent, and you shouldn't be using it. You shouldn't be engaged in anything other than active monitoring. Student devices, from the moment they walk in, they should be giving those up. It's in your checklist. Follow your checklist. And then all their belongings go to the front of the room. You're going to read that policy as it says in the checklist. All right. Active monitoring. Here's what it is. You are responsible to know what's going on in the room. Why do we do it? We want everybody to have the same opportunity and the same environment. We want it to be equitable for all students. And failure to actively monitor can lead to an invalidation of a student results. It can also result in an error that has severe consequences for students and staff. And we don't want students to lose an opportunity to test. All right, here's some accommodations. Supplemental aids have to be taken up and placed in that scratch paper pile. They're shredded. Small group, this is just a note. A small group accommodation, it's allowable, but it's something I have to know about and has to be put in place. For us, a small group is anything less 20 or less. A regular room will be 25 or more roster. And then there's some possibilities that you'll see on the accommodation sheet. Lunch, kids can stop to take a supervised lunch. Here's what most of the time happens on these days. Around 1, maybe 1:15-ish, I will ask the students that are still testing, or I'll have you ask them, depending on the day and the size of the amount of students still testing, do they want us to get them a lunch? And then we'll get details then. At that moment, we'll stop everybody testing. We'll find out what, we'll take a pulse of the room. Majority of the time, our kids, when you write the pass, if lunches have started, it's crucial that you ask a student, what lunch do you normally have on this day? If it's a lunch and they didn't finish till 1 o'clock, you're going to need to add 30 minutes onto their time and put to cafeteria at that exact time. Should be in class, add 25 minutes to that, 25, 30 minutes. Just make sure to document everything. You're going to take attendance online and on your roster. Since there's going to be 2 of you in the room at the time we need to turn that in, make sure that the other person, one person's submitting the information online and then the other has the roster and you're double checking what's in the room and then you confer with each other. But we don't need to both be over the computer, analyzing what's going on, filling out the online thing. Somebody should be actively monitoring at all times. And then I will come by, or someone from the testing office will come by to get your materials of absent students after 10 a.m. Now remember, if someone starts after the time your room starts, make the notations on your start sheet because it's different than what's going on in your room. All right, remember, roster, fill in all the requested information, complete your seating charts to pick your room. The start-stop sheet is only to be used if the start time is different or emergent situations. It's kind of a more detailed look at each student. Accommodation page, make sure that all accommodations have been made possible for the student. Checklist. The checklist is what we have to go by, each and every one of us. Every single thing on there is important. It's our compliance piece. It's our security and confidentiality piece. It helps prevent irregularities. It evens the playing field for everybody. It secures the room. Please follow the items on the checklist to work. All right, accessing the test. Students are going to come with their their Chromebook charged and ready. We will have some that can be checked out. In fact, I will probably already put some in each of their rooms to make that process a little faster. We're going to take the initiative to have everybody do a refresh, restart, clean things out on that Monday that we get back from Thanksgiving. It'll also give us a moment to go, hey, where is your Chromebook? You are testing tomorrow. You need it. And then remember, calculators, Desmos, dictionaries are all embedded on tests. We'll have a few available for English 1 and English 2. As students come in, have them restart their computers. They do not need to sign in. We use an app called the Secure Testing Browser. And then remember, each day you'll be provided a session ID that is secure. You write it on the board, but not until you're instructed for your checklist. All right. If you have no questions, if you know the contents of your manual and of your training, you've looked at all the things. What do you need? Just one. Sorry, everybody. Let me see where I left this. I'm just gonna go here up over. Just to look at the checklist real fast. Sorry to ramble on. It's late. I know we need to finish this up. Time's moving on. Every single thing you need to do to ensure that we're all on the same page, your kids are being taken care of, you're being taken care of, you haven't missed anything, it's on your checklist. Tells you when to do it, what to do, and then when you bring it back, you will initial, sign, and put your room number. So we have this all taken care of, but this is also in your folder so you can read over it and be more comfortable with what is going on. And now that you have all the information, you've understood it, you've read over it, you looked at it, you listened to this training, you have no more questions, make sure that you use the link, and I have it provided separately in your email, that you complete your training and verification, your training verification confirmation form. This takes care for you for your securities and confidentiality training, as well as your December procedural training. I hope y'all had a great day. Thank you for all that you do and for taking advantage of this opportunity to get so many things done. If you have any questions, I'm available. Feel free to reach out. If you don't have my phone number, I will send it in an email, but otherwise come by L109 or stop by to see me at any time. Thanks so much. Look forward to hearing from you.